Hey everyone, it's time for my rant. I laugh because at work at Intrinio we call it a rant, but I don't know, lecture might be another tone or idea. If you have other things you want to hear us talk about other than me just rambling about some topic in finance, you can email them to us or put them in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts or hear what you want to hear about. But today I'm going to rant at you a little bit about ESG data. So if you've got a pulse and you work in finance or you work in data, you've heard of this term ESG data. It stands for Environmental Sustainability and Governance. It is a category of data that represents information about companies' impact on the world. Do they do good? Do they have diversity? What's their carbon footprint like? And it's a huge, huge Wild West topic because there's no standardization in ESG data as of right now. It can kind of be whatever you want. It's not audited the way other financial data can be, like from a financial statement. So companies can just say whatever they want. And to give you an idea of how complicated this thing can be, even just among carbon emissions, there's 3 levels of data that are proposed. One is like just how much carbon does your company output from its operations, its main things that your business does, but then also like how much ancillary carbon does your company output from things like your employees commuting to work or in your supply chain, and that would be the level 2 type of carbon emissions. Is like, what are the other things that you're doing not directly in your business but because your business is operating. And then the third one is, what about companies in your supply chain, companies you do business with? How big are their emissions? And even in that little tiny sliver of ESG data, there is infinite complexity. It'll be decades before it's really solved and finalized what that all means. But and then that's just one little tiny category. You've got what does your board look like? And you've seen places like California, they're trying to mandate certain board compositions, and that's why you report on, what's your male-female ratio on your board? Do you have different racial diversity on your board? Things like that, and it runs the gambit from there. Everything about your business has to do with ESG data. So let me just tell you a few things that are happening in this space that you probably want to be aware of. And the first is that there's some attempts coming down the pipe. We'll say pipe, coming down the pike for to standardize this data. The SEC is currently considering changes to legislation that would require ESG data to be reported by public companies in XBRL format. And if you know anything about Intrinio, that's my company. We specialize in XBRL data. XBRL data standardizes data. It provides a tag and a value for that tag. So instead of companies just filing CSR reports, which is kind of a common way ESG data is reported now, which are just these long text-based reports that they put out because they're not always required to, but a lot of the times they do anyway. If they put out their data in XBRL format, as this new legislation would require them, it'd be easier to work with. It'd be easier to pull it down and understand, all right, what were their carbon emissions? Not reading a report and trying to pull out what their carbon emissions were. There'd be a value and a tag for different kinds of carbon emissions. So this is being proposed to be put in place for the first reporting year to be 2024. Now I'm going to check myself. I'm pretty sure it's 2022. Right now, it can be hard to tell because of the pandemic. But for 2024 would be the first year this legislation would require XBRL reporting, and it would have to be reported on for year 2023. And if you're an environmentalist or you care about some of these issues, that might seem like a long time, because before any of this reporting could really make a difference into 2024, maybe even 2025, which seems like an eternity if you're trying to change things in the world. But that is coming. And for companies, that might actually seem very fast. If you're a business and you're maybe a publicly traded company, or you invest in a publicly traded company, you need to be worried about these things because there's a legislation out there to mandate it. There's some speculation that it might not get approved, it might not go through, but at some point it's going to happen. There's a lot of pressure behind this type of thing. When you see big asset managers, some of the biggest in the world, the companies that make ETFs and Vanguards of the world and BlackRocks are all weighing in on these ESG topics and saying that they don't want to move capital to companies that maybe have poor metrics and poor benchmarks in these areas. So that reporting is coming at some point. And so as an investor or a data creator or a public company employee, you're going to have to be on the lookout to report this data, to standardize it, to get it out in the world, but also to be ahead of it. So you don't want to be investing maybe, or you don't want to invest your clients' money, or you don't want to be seen as a company that has poor metrics in these areas. And this gets to the idea that if you want to change something, you have to be able to measure it. And that's the whole idea driving this forward, is that if companies have to report their emissions or the makeup of their board or their climate of their company on different important social issues, they're going to take responsibility. My special guest today is Anthony Trzeciak. He's the CEO and founding member of Dialect. Dialect is a financial marketing data company focused on the American stock market. It's an AI-powered software that allows users to access and analyze stock market data quickly and efficiently. In addition to being the CEO of Dialect, Tony is a paralyzed U.S. combat veteran who served in the Marines from 2008 to 2012. He's a leader, a data analyst, and an entrepreneur. Tony uses his leadership skills learned in the armed forces as an advocate for veterans and active duty members, and he uses his knowledge from years investing in the stock market to improve and empower the experience of novice traders and experienced traders alike, helping them all to make informed and data-driven decisions. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, can you just start and tell us a little bit about why you founded Dialect? What was the reason or the problem that you were solving, and why did you build this technology?
Well, I came into the trading communities, as a retail trader, and I saw that there's a very big need for people needing answers on demand. A lot of people go to these non-licensed financial advisors, or not even financial advisors, but non-licensed advisors, and just people who are just using a fake alias for, help navigating the market. And I didn't really see a solution for all these people coming into the markets, especially over the past couple of years, especially through the COVID. There was a very big need for people for help trying to figure out and solve or find their edge in the markets. And through my few years in trading and looking at the markets, I was just like, you need to look at data or look at information to make informed decisions with your money. And there was really no solution out there for anyone. You have Bloomberg terminals, you have other data providers, but most people can't even make sense of what they're looking at. So I wanted to figure out a way where I could take the factual information that's available and this technology, which is natural language conversational AI, and combine the two to solve this big need in the market to help people make data-driven decisions on their own.
I'm on the website right now. It's dialect.app, dialect.app, and there's so much that this thing does. It is simple, it's intuitive, but it's also based on this like really advanced technology for almost talking to a database. Can you start there? I know maybe the average user doesn't necessarily need to know how it all works, but I'm fascinated by it. Like AutoQL, what is that? Why are you using it?
So I actually have a strategic partnership with a company named Chata, www.chata.ai. They are a natural language conversational AI company. I know they've built models and applications for Nike, Google, Microsoft, so they have a very powerful technology. A friend of mine, Chris, he knew the CEO through his family, through several conversations over long course of several months. I told the CEO, whose name is Kelly, my goals and ambitions and my vision on what I believe could really serve all these people coming into the markets, but not just retail, but also institutional investors and hedge funds. Most people use a Bloomberg terminal, but there's just it's a mass amount of data. And people spend hours, if not days, maybe even more, looking through information to find the best investments or trades for themselves or their clients or other individuals. So I wanted to figure out a way, how can I harness this information so people can make investment decisions very quickly? Because I would say the most valuable thing any human being has on this earth is time. So the less time you have to sit there and navigate through all this information to make better informed decisions with your money, I believe it is truly powerful and can be, revolutionary. We initially started off with our application in August this past summer with just a few thousand queries trained. Within just 6 months, we went from having a few thousand queries trained to nearly 60,000 commands and queries trained. So every single time somebody uses our application, we're learning from you. This is based off of machine learning. So every single time somebody goes on our application, they query something or ask a question pertaining to our database, our system gives them an answer. And as of today, we have a 93% accurate response rate. So, it's just going to become more and more robust and more dynamic as more people utilizes our application. And as we expand our database and train the language models to understand more data sets, the system will be able to dynamically do more. So currently, our application is mostly revolved around options, some equity, some technical analysis, and I could get into some examples, but it's as simple as asking a simple question. What was the largest bullish trade today, this week, this month, this year? What was the most bearish position taken? What was the highest volume trade or new opening trades over an open interest, all size greater than average daily volume? You can just, we're learning from the individuals who are asking questions on our database. So essentially, no question is a dumb question, because obviously we want to learn from everyone. We want to know, what are you asking? And now every single time somebody asks a question, it's stored in our database, and we're pretty much building a roadmap, and we're understanding what are people looking at when they're looking at the stock market, so we can dynamically serve that individual. And from what I've seen, I've not seen anyone be able to do the things that we could do.
Wow. So it's very easy to understand how this would save time. If I'm a user and I wanted to ask some of these questions, I think in English, or I think in thoughts. Translating that to a query that gives me the data back is a pain. It's going to take forever. And so because you have this really smart AutoQL, you're learning what the users are asking, but also the user benefits, right? Because then they can benefit from other users' questions, and everybody's saving time together. Is that the idea?
Yeah, totally. So everyone, whoever uses our database, every single query is dynamically saved. So, for instance, it's a very powerful financial search engine. So if somebody asks a query and the database responds and gives that answer, everyone could get access to that same identical query. So, even when you have somebody coming in new into the market that has very little knowledge of what they're looking at or how to utilize stock information, but they see the most common frequently queries day in and day out, well, that must be something relevant. That must be something important. That must be something that I also need to look into if I want to make a decision on my own. And there's a lot of noise in the stock market, especially on social media. A lot of people are getting, set in these traps where, a lot of these people don't even know what they're talking about when it comes to trading or investing or even education. A lot of people are just copying and pasting things that they see online, and they're charging a premium for it. And a lot of these people are getting sucked into that. So we wanted to figure out how we can better serve all these new individuals coming into the market. But it's important that we get very knowledgeable people on our application, because we're learning from those knowledgeable people so we can better serve those newer investors coming into the market, because the system's based off machine learning. So obviously we want to get the most experienced individuals on our application so we can dynamically train a language model on how these individuals would look at stock market information, ask and query information, so we can better serve all those newer people coming into the markets.
Yes, I love this. I talked to tons of finance companies, people who are building apps, and I've never heard of anybody think about querying financial data this way. It's totally new. It's revolutionary. If people want to check it out, like you're talking about advanced traders, new traders, I've been on your site. It looks like they can check it out for free. Just come in and create an account. Is that what you would suggest as the way people to kind of experience this? Because it almost is an experience. It's like, I'm used to writing SQL queries or searching Google, but I'm not used to thinking about accessing financial data this way. Is that the best course of action, is to come in and try it?
So, we offer everyone a free week trial on our application. But we are always offering extended free trials. All you have to do is reach out to us. I understand that a lot of people are busy. 1 week might not be adequate enough for some individuals. So all they have to do is come onto our website, send us a message, be like, I'm very interested in your website. We create anyone, an extended trial. We want to understand how we can best serve these individuals coming to our platform. This is for traders by traders, for investors by investors, so we want to help serve everyone, and we're looking to, individually help everyone, so, no question's a stupid question, so we're always willing to help everyone.
Yeah, it's dialect.app. So for just reminding everybody who's watching or listening, go check it out. It's super approachable. You mentioned earlier that you've got options data, you've got equities data, but you see it expanding. You see it going to any kind of data that can be queried, which is everything that traders and investors look at. What are you going to add? What's coming on your roadmap in the next 6-12 months?
So we have a very big roadmap. Honestly, I get my data from the SIBO data shop. So when we're looking to keep expanding, we'll take all their data sets that are available and train language models around that, crypto data, macro data, more technical analysis, financial news, price target analysts, insider filings. So, individuals can come in and say, hey, was there any insiders who bought Microsoft today, this week, the last month, this year? It'll automatically query that for you. What's the analyst price target for, Disney or Microsoft? It'll give you that. So we're going to take in, somebody that I know pretty well said, essentially what I'm doing is you're taking the weight of the evidence that's presented in front of you, and you're going to be able to make an informed decision by taking millions of data points, by simply just asking a question and getting your answers within seconds. And then in turn, you can make an informed decision with your money. So, let's just hypothetically speaking, if I had everything trained, you come in, say, what's the price target for Microsoft in the next 12 to 18 months? You get an average consensus price target on what that looks like, and then you can say, is there any recent news on Microsoft? And then a bunch of news articles going to pop up, and then you start looking into the trade data, like, okay, was there any large options buying? Was there any leaps bought? Was there any large equity blocks bought? Was there any insiders who bought Microsoft? What's the support? What's the resistance on Microsoft? You're asking all those questions within microseconds, getting the answers just as quickly. So then you can sit back and say, I've taken all the weight of all this evidence that's in front of me, and I'm going to make a decision based off all these data points I was easily able to ask in seconds to make an informed decision with my money. And that, to me, is truly powerful. So, that's pretty much our whole goal, is to take all this data and make it in a way where people can ask these questions in a way they understand by using their native way of speaking. So as more data sets are trained, our query base will go from 50, 60,000 to where it is now to probably hundreds of thousands of queries. But, that's the very exciting part, is that we have such big upside potential on how far we can take this technology and application.
Yeah, it's revolutionary. I can't stress this enough. I've never heard of it before. I've never heard of thinking about accessing data this way. It really is a game changer. You mentioned like native speaking, like this is how people think. Is this how would this be an easier, more intuitive way to invest? Like when I'm going to make an investments decision, it takes hours, or I just outsource it to a robo advisor who is not really making like an active decision for me. They're just putting me into an ETF that says, well, diversification is the strategy. The alternative to that for me as a retail trader is just tons of time, really working hard on a model. Like, is this how humans think? And so you're trying to use the technology to actually make it more intuitive so that they can just ask the questions they need. Like, do you think that that's where the industry is going to be in 10 years?
I believe so, because if you look where everything is shifting now, most people have a smart device or a computer in their pocket. They have a cell phone. All right, and Alexa, Siri, Google search, it's everyone's asking, hey, what's the weather like today, or play my favorite song. If you look at what's going on social media, especially like FinTwit, StockTwits, Facebook, whatever, Telegram, mainly Discord too. Discord has been blowing up with massive amounts of trading communities. Everyone is looking for someone to tell them what to do because they don't know what to do themselves, because the stock market is just full of so much information that most people don't have the time to sit there and study all of this and learn this themselves. So they look to individuals who they believe are credible to tell them what to do. And most of the time, I would probably say 98% of the time, a lot of those people are losing money. I know there's statistics out there that most, retail traders are failing in the markets just because they're being guided in the wrong way, and they're being told the wrong information. And a lot of people can't afford financial advisors. Like for instance, most of the financial advisors are charging hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars a month to manage your money. Most people, probably don't even have $5,000-$10,000 in their savings account. So a lot of people are trying to find ways so they can have a better financial future. So they're looking at the stock market as a way to gamble their money, especially what's going on in the past 2-3 years since the pandemic. A lot of people are coming in there and they're seeing all these people make massive amounts of money over the course of the past 2 years, but a lot of people just happen to time that market drop just in the nick of time, and now there's a lot of people that are just getting blown out. And I'm trying to solve that by giving them all this factual data that they can actually access themselves without the need of somebody, and you can get access to this information 24/7.
Yeah, it's going to empower those users, those retail traders. Can you talk about the difference between how retail traders or like more of a professional investor, somebody who works at a big firm, might approach what you're doing? You said that like you need the right questions, smart people who are very experienced traders asking those questions, and I think you've got a really good solution for them because they don't have access to this either. It doesn't really exist. They're using a Bloomberg terminal, for example. But then you've got this other group that's coming in to learn, and they're just getting started, and you can kind of help them by showing them the right questions, and making their lives easier, giving them access they didn't have. How are you going to approach those two different use cases with your app? Are you targeting both of them?
So we are targeting both of them at the same time. We can solve B2C and B2B at the same time. So B2C, individual people can come to our website, log in, and create their own application. But then when it comes to business side of things, we can deploy this technology anywhere. So for instance, you can either use our database and we could deploy the entire application to your website, to your broker, to your mobile device, whatever it be, or we just dynamically train a language model with my strategic partners at Chata. We can train the same language model around your database, which then in turn you can deploy to your institutions, partners, or clients, and et cetera. But we're always learning how everyone's asking these questions. So in turn, when those questions get asked by those, the big hedge funds or institutions, it's all going into a database. Then we can take those queries and questions and enable those individuals on the individual side of things, or B2C, and give them access to all those questions and queries.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you've got a strategy for both of them. They act very differently, but they have the same use, the same needs. at the end of the day to take a huge mountain of data and make it smaller. It's just that some of them have the advantage of, a credit card budget, $10,000 a month is nothing to pay for data and tools and access. So I appreciate the mission is that you're going to help the institutions. Why not? You're a business too, but also work you're doing with them can benefit retail who can learn from that. You've got all these videos, you've got all these tools. It sounds like there isn't nobody needs a code to use your tool. It actually makes it simple that you're talking to this thing and it understands your language. How do you educate your users? Are you building I've seen videos on your website, how do you get people started to teach them to use your tool?
So it's, as I always say, using Dialect is as simple as asking a question. So we do have a learning center on our application for novice or newer retailer or traders to come on our platform. We try to keep all the videos very short, sweet, to the point, because we realize that if you have very long video presentations, most people lose interest probably around 2 to 3 minutes. So you want to be short and to the point and give people the direct answers that they're looking for. And that's really important in itself. But we are looking for people who are very knowledgeable in the market. As you know, I've been in trading and investing for 5 years on my own, but I learn something new every day. So we're always looking for people who are very knowledgeable about the markets that come join us and show us what, based off of years of information or knowledge that they have, these are the types of things that you should be looking for. These are the types of things that you should be studying or overviewing before you take a trade or investment. So, we're always learning, not just the system itself, but myself in general. I'm always learning from how everyone's going to be using the system.
Yeah, it's been great learning about it today. I really just want to thank you for coming on the show and opening my mind a little bit to some of these tools that are out there and what you're doing. It's dialect.app, so everybody go check it out. Tony, thanks so much for your service, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Cool. My guest today from Intrinio is Erick Iarrusso. He's an enterprise sales representative. Welcome to the show, Erick.
Hi, Andy. How's it going?
It's pretty good. It's springtime here in the Rockies. Where are you coming to us from? Are you down in southern Florida now?
Yeah. So I moved down to Miami about a month ago.
Nice.
And enjoying the beautiful weather, South Beach, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And here comes summer. It'd be a good time to be at the beach, I imagine. So can you tell everybody a little bit about your background, how you got into tech and enterprise sales, just a little bit so they can get to know you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a master's degree in international economics. Went into sales with that, and then found Intrinio to really get into finance and really merge my sales experience with my master's degree. So that's what got me into it.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? That's pretty cool. How does international economics and finance intersect?
That was a big question too I had originally, but just looking at different commodities and things, one of my specialties was in agriculture. So looking at food and grain, in Russia, United States, and where they're importing, exporting, and how those prices reflect that. Really just get you into the stock market, right? Because then you're looking at commodities and prices, and seeing okay, is it better to import or export, and vice versa.
Cool. I never thought about it, but it makes sense. I suppose economics is a super data-driven industry, and all the research and everything that goes on in the world of economics is probably driven by some kind of financial data at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell everybody a little bit about what you do here. I kind of know, I know what you do here. I've done it myself, but selling financial data, helping customers, it's such a complicated animal. What is it? What is financial data sales? How does it work?
Yeah. So first thing I do here is I rescue my cats in the background. So I'm sure you can see, that one right there.
I see that.
Yeah. But really what I do at Intrinio is, I try to find how I can help people, right? So front ends or, educational platforms, options, equities, I try to figure out, okay, you have this, how can I help you build this? because I have the raw data and you have the platform, like the UI, to ingest that data and make it readable and ingestible for your clients. That way they can make investing decisions. And that's really what I do, so just, picking up the phone, talking to people, seeing what the needs are, like if we can help you with better data sets, which we most of the time can, especially on a better price too, and just going from there. Yeah.
I got it. I love it. You're making me think about things differently already. So we've got the data. We're a data company, but we don't have a platform. We don't have an analytics engine, a way to display it. So really, like the customers, we need them as much as they need us, because without them, the data we have never gets put to good use.
Exactly. So, that's, one of the things I like about Intrinio is that we're putting our clients first. So we allow them to build what they need to build for their clients. Like I absolutely love that, we don't have like display fees for our real-time feed. That's amazing compared to everyone else. Like they're charging a set price and then like per user and then, external display versus internal display. And we're saying, hey, we have this data, we own it, like take it and build with it.
Yep. I love that. I've been at it a long time, and that's such a fresh take on it. It makes so much sense. Like they've got users, investors are their customers, like people who look at their website or use their tool, whatever app they're building, and they need the data, which we have. But like when you put them together, we're doing what we're good at, but then they can focus on what they're good at. And your job is to be in between. You've got a data company on one side, you've got an analytics or visualization company on the other, and you bring them. You're like a matchmaker, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
I think so too. Yeah.
Okay. That's so good. Already this podcast interview is a super success because I'm going to use that all over the place. Tell us more about those customers. So like what kind of stuff are you seeing people building? Like what do they need the data for? What does that actually look like?
So I work with a lot of different people. It varies across the spectrum. Working with a lot of front ends where, like they're working with brokers, be able to display like charts or like options and then link up to be able to actually execute those trades. And then even just like, some, asset management companies where they need fundamental data. That way, they can see how a company is performing and then just use that, fundamental analysis to, make actually investments instead of just day trading. So it really is just a wide spectrum. Right now, the most popular thing is options. Delayed is an excellent flavor of the month right now, I would say. It gets around a lot of fees, like real-time fees, but it's good data. So if you want to buy options, it's excellent display on your platform.
Tell me more about that, because I hear that as well, like from clients and in our team, that like everybody needs options for some reason, and this 15-minute delayed options is particularly helpful. Like why do you recommend 15-minute delayed options to someone?
Right. So, matter of fact, like, so I play rugby too, and this is the background, and had a tournament this past Saturday in Miami for the state championship. We lost, but regardless. But me and some of my teammates, we were talking, and they're into investing in real estate, option stocks. And one of the guys, he asked me flat out, because he knows what it does. He's like, how do I get into options? Like what do I need to do here? I don't understand it. And so then I explained to him like really what I do, right? So I'm just the data provider, and then you need to go to a company like Trade Aries or what's another one? Ticker Stats, where it's essentially like cheat codes, where they're taking our data for our delayed options data, and if you're looking at delayed and from an investment standpoint, you can see like the moneyness of those contracts, and it doesn't really have to be like real time per se, just for that. But those companies are using that. They're getting users, like making it a valuable resource for them to have a paid membership, and then just going from there. So like their users, the clients are happy because it takes out a lot of the stuff. Like I have no idea about options. You still have to educate yourself and learn about options. But if you can just see, okay, like this contract's in the money, so like, okay, I'm going to buy this, I can sell it, and I should make money off of it, then it just makes it easier for people like that.
Right. So,
and that's exactly what we provide too.
Yeah. So the 15-minute delayed options is actually powering platforms that people are able to use to visualize, understand what's going on with an option contract in a way they don't have to be super experienced to trade off of it.
Right, right. And that makes our clients more valuable to, like the retail trader, because you don't have to work with people that have, been trading options for decades. Like you can have someone that, okay, I want to get into this. How do I do this? They can do like a course that you have on your site. And then you have that 15-minute delayed, resource there for them so they can actually start using that.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that you slipped your rugby team in there. Sorry to hear about the loss, but at least you were at the big championship. So that's
good. It's true too, man. Yeah, me and Matt, we were talking about it. It's like, yeah, man, it's literally cheat codes. Like you just need to go like to these, like literally, I just named up my clients. Like, like go to these companies. We pull them up. Like it's literally cheat codes. Like they have moneyness. You can see like if those contracts are, like going to be profitable or not, or if you're going to lose money, and just, buy those itself.
I love your attitude is like you're constantly promoting the clients. So like
always,
yeah, that's a good way to be. Like if they're successful, Intrinio is successful, right? They can keep buying data from us. Do you think do you see a lot of your clients coming back to buy more data after they get started with a certain data set?
Oh, all the time. So like our packages are absolutely fantastic for like especially front ends, and then like educational platforms to get off the ground. Like we have an excellent real-time feed. It's unless you need the SIP feed, there's no reason not to use our feed. Like just to be honest, and then combining that with our fundamentals, which is a game changer. Just the way how it's so affordable and like the data quality is just insane, and everything's just packaged together. So you have that, and then okay, so 3 months from now, I'm gonna need like analyst ratings. I got it. No worries. We have that add-on. Or I need ETFs. No problem. Let me call, Anakit. I have it. No issues whatsoever. And we can just slowly upgrade that. And it's amazing. So everyone that, starts off with one of our packages, that slowly it's like, okay, so like we talk to our clients, they really want to get into ETFs. Like, what can you do for me? I have it for you. No problem. Like, ready to go. It's through API. You don't have to like worry about another, like vendor. Like, we have you covered.
Yeah, that's such a fantastic service to provide because, like, do you think that your clients spend a lot of time, like, Googling and trying to find data? It's like, once they get started, if they don't have to then go back and be like, where am I going to find all this data? It saves them a lot of time, I would imagine.
Oh, it does. And surprise costs, too. So one of my new clients, when we first started talking, he asked me to build out a roadmap for him. Like, he was working with another data provider. And, he was getting just unusual activity from them and then, like IEX data, like real-time data. And then they started hitting him with like little surprise fees, like for all these upgrades and literally just build out a full year roadmap for him. It's like the first 3 months, we're going to go with our real-time equities and fundamentals and delayed options. 3 to 6 months, upgrade into real-time options. Then 6 months to a year, we're going to add that analyst ratings and ETF data. So that way like you can see a full year, this is what it will actually cost me with all these upgrades. And you absolutely love that.
I like that idea because I hate when airlines do that to me. Like I always get to the airport and they're like, oh, and by the way, it's another $200 that you weren't anticipating to check these bags. And it's just like infuriating. It makes me feel good that Intrinio doesn't do that to people. Like, hey, here's your cost. And like, you can tell people what the data is going to cost without like that crazy variable, like, oh yeah, then it depends how many users you have and how much like you're going to hit the server. Like you can pretty much tell them within a day of talking to them, like up front, what the cost is, so they don't waste any time. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I think that's nice whenever you can treat other people how you want to be treated. It's like, you're probably talking to the clients and they've wasted time, right? They've gone down like this long sales process, months and months, and then like dev time, which is very expensive, testing things only at the end to find out what it costs. And then it ends up being kind of more than they thought it would be.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's that right there alone, even with options too, because there's so many data providers that don't tell you like the full cost associated with it, like because there's Oprah fees, and a lot of other data providers like, okay, so our options feed will cost X amount of dollars, and then you get hit with that Oprah fee like a month later saying that you owe another like $5,000, and you're just like, what's going on here? You're like, why am I just learning about this right now?
Yeah,
you don't get that with us. I mean, it's
that's gross.
It is. It's bad business. Like it's so predatory. Yeah.
So where are you finding these companies that are launching these platforms? Like, where do they come to you? Do you go out and try to call them? Like, how do you find these businesses?
Yeah, so it's a mix of everything. We have a great marketing team, that's bringing in those leads to us. I mean, that's obviously like in sales, that's the easiest way. You have someone raising your hand saying, "Hey, like I need help." In which case, we're here for you. Our sales team is incredibly responsive. And then our support team on top of that too is there to help you. But then, outbound, so I'll be on LinkedIn or on Crunchbase or, on Benzinga, and I'm seeing all these cool new platforms. So I'm just reaching out to them like, hey, I saw this. It looks great. Like, are you looking at, like adding options or ETFs, something, or crypto in the future? Like just going from there with them. Yeah.
Do you find it easy to talk to them? Like, do they, once they find out who you are and what you do, are they like willing to tell you about their roadmap and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, like for the most part, a lot of like the startups, they have their roadmap like on their website because they want their clients to know like, hey, we are building and expanding. Like you're not just going to come in, and just get real time equity data. Like we are going to add options, in the next like 3 months. In which case, like it's there on their website, and that's a nice little roadmap for me. It's some cheat codes for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can just come in saying, hey, I see in 3 months you want to add options. In which case, like look at our amazing, delayed or real-time options feed that has implied volatility, Greeks, unusual activity, everything included, all calculated, ready for you to go.
Wow. I know, like it's kind of selfish. Like, okay, we know when the client wants the data, we can sell it to them. Great, that's good for us. Like, I buy a lot of data. Like for Intrinio, we use it internally, or we redistribute it, or it's part of our business. And like, if I had someone like you on the other end who could make sure that when I need the data, it's available, and that like my contracts are all squared away, everything's good to go, I wouldn't have to worry so much. But as a data consumer, I think I get a lot of headaches and a lot of like sleepless nights being like, will the data be available when I need it? Like, how much is it actually costing? Like, I kind of wish I had more. I wish Data Intrinio was my data provider instead of the other.
I bet, especially those Exhibit A forms.
Oh my god!
Like how long do those take out to fill out? I mean, it's crazy.
Tell everybody about that. Like, okay, tell about the exchange approval process. Like, it's probably like a nightmare that no one has even dreamt of yet.
It is. If you haven't done it yet, like it is so beneficial to have like a company, like resources that like I've done the hundreds now, right? Like I'm sure you have too. So like I know what to do, know what to fill out. But if you get that Exhibit A, like for the first time ever, and it's like 30 pages long, and there's like check boxes galore, you're just like, I don't even know. Like I don't even know like what am I supposed to do here. So like, but like working with us, so like because we do it, like you said, you buy data, like I help fill it out too. Like we can help you fill it out. We can get it done in an afternoon instead of like you just sitting at this 30-page document. It's like I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
I mean that is
For those of you listening that don't know what we're talking about, when you buy stock prices or options prices or anything from a stock exchange or an options exchange, you have to fill out this paperwork for most of the exchanges and to get approved. And then sometimes there's fees, sometimes there's not. The paperwork could be a page, it could be 20 pages. It asks for all this information, and it's like the first time you fill it out is like being the first person to hike into a forest. You don't know if you're coming out of there. Like you might not make it. And then if you're working with Erick or myself or someone on our team, like we've hiked that trail before so many times. Like we know where all the cliffs are. We know how to get out. We know how much water to bring. Like we're going to get the paperwork submitted with you. So you're not doing that alone. Like I can't even imagine. Can you imagine being the first time you did it and you have to fill that all out by yourself? I mean, what a nightmare.
Yeah, it was kind of scary. I remember seeing my first like Oprah Exhibit A form. That was, oh my goodness. It was insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, and this is just one example. So like anytime you go to buy data, there's like a dozen problems that you're going to run into. Like, how do I connect? Is this a bulk download? Is it an API? Where do I get my credentials? Like what's the contract value? How much am I paying? Is this monthly, annual billing? Can I cancel? Like, how do I take a trial? Paperwork that I got to fill out. It's kind of like an endless morass just to get access, right? Just to get started.
Yeah.
And you're helping them through that, right? Like they basically need a guide.
They really do. Yeah. I mean, if it's your first time doing, even if like it's a new like type of platform you're doing, you need a little bit of help. Yeah.
Yeah. we work with fintechs and startups all the time, people who haven't been through this, but there are some bigger companies out there that they have like a purchasing department that buys data. They have a professional on it. They're huge. They've got 1,000 employees, and there's someone whose full-time job it is to figure that stuff out. But like, I feel like even those companies, they're kind of used to slow delivery. Like, okay, I'm a big company. I'm gonna buy financial data. It's gonna take 6 months to get that access turned on, right? But like, how long does it take you to turn access on for somebody once they get through all the paperwork?
Oh, like instantly,
right?
It's
yeah.
I mean, it really. I can show you emails of like clients saying, I can't believe this is so fast, and like you're so efficient, you're so helpful. I mean, it's insane because I've never been on their side where, like you're saying, it literally takes them months or weeks like to get a reply to get access, but we literally turn it on within an hour.
Right. Yeah, we check all the boxes and then flip a switch and you've got access. And like, I think the bigger companies they're used to the part the smaller companies are scared of, like the paperwork and the billing and all this stuff. But they're also, the bigger companies are just kind of used to being like, well, if I want to add a feature to my platform, it's going to take about a year because 6 months from now I'll start development. Whereas we can help them get that launched like starting next week.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a totally different attitude. Do you think that's spreading, that like more companies are going to get used to buying data that way?
I hope so. I really do. I know like we're the best at it. I mean, I've worked with everyone that's used everything at this point, and I mean, that's like the biggest, advantage of working with us is that we can do that when I haven't really seen it across the industry.
What do you think is driving that culture at Intrinio? Because like we've got this distributed team and we're remote now, like, but we come together when we can. But like, there's also like, we're using Slack internally. We've got tools to turn data access on. Like, why do you think Intrinio is able to help these clients in a way that other data companies can't?
You literally have people that are dedicated to your success. I mean, that really is what it boils down to. I mean, you have the sales team. Chris and myself. We're there for you. You need it. You have 4 people dedicated on the customer success side that are absolutely phenomenal. Like trying to get everything resolved within a timely manner, which is absolutely insane. Like most companies pay for that, and you're just getting that with us by working with us. But they're there. Our ticketing system is amazing too. At what I think the standard is, like tickets are closed within 40 minutes.
Wow,
is that right, Andy?
Yeah, that's about right. But it's still,
I mean, that's not heard of. It's really not, especially because we actually support our data. I mean, like, some companies don't. I mean, they literally say, okay, you buy this and there is no support. It's figure it out. That's your support method. Yeah. That's not us. That's not the way we do things.
Yeah. All right. Well, I love it. So you've given me a lot of good fodder to think about, like, the value is in connecting our data with your platform, how we're successful because we focus on customer success. And the last thing I got to ask you is, what's your cat's name?
What's my cat's name?
Yeah.
Oh, there's 2 of them. There's 2 of them here. There's one right here. Let me get him. All right, he's not having it. We got Bing and Monica.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a friend's family.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. That's the one back there. That's Monica. Yeah, the one going wild right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm obsessed with friends myself. Well, it's amazing to talk to you, Erick. Thank you. We've got a guy with an international economics master's degree here helping connect our clients up. I think it really goes to show how much we care. So I appreciate having you on the show, Erick. It was really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Take it easy. Have a good afternoon.